Hello everybody, it's your immigration attorney Luis Ruiz, here with you today to talk to you about the N400 interview. The N400 is a citizenship application, so this is about your citizenship interview in order to determine whether you qualify and you should be approved or denied for US citizenship. So the first thing that happens at the interview when you walk in is that you're going to be placed under oath, and the officer usually starts with your civics, reading, and writing portion of the interview. So they'll ask you up to 10 questions to determine if you know the history or the way of government or important information about the United States. So they'll ask you up to 10 questions, and these questions are public. Anybody that comes and hires me for a citizenship, to do their citizenship, we hand over a copy of the question so that they can be ready and prepared for the interview. So they'll ask up to 10 questions, the exact same question as it's written down on the documents that I give my client. And you have to make 6 right. So if you answer the first 6 right, they'll only ask 6 questions. If you miss the first one, then they'll ask you 6 more, a total of 7 questions. They will never ask you more than 10 questions, and you have to get 6 of them right. Once you get the civics questions right, you will do the reading and writing portion. So the question will be, you have to read the question, and it'll say, for example, who was the first president of the United States? So you read that out loud, and then the officer will say, okay, that was good. Now write this down. And then they will say, the first president was George Washington, write it down. So you read the question, and then you write down the answer to that question. Once you pass the exam, the civics, the reading, and the writing, they'll ask you for your name, and then they'll check your information, date of birth, your places of employment, places of residence. They'll go through the entire application. So usually what I do is I give my clients a copy of the application so they know exactly what they're going to be asked. They'll go through all of that. They'll ask you about any groups or organizations that you're a member of. They'll ask you for any trips outside of the United States lasting more than 24 hours for the past 5 years, and you have to list them down. They'll ask you about any criminal history. And they'll ask you about your questions of admissibility, which means they'll ask you whether you even qualify for citizenship. They'll ask things such as, have you ever committed a crime? Have you ever committed a crime for which you were not arrested for? Have you ever helped anybody enter the United States illegally? Have you ever been a habitual drunkard? Or do you plan to, have you ever in the past 10 years engaged in any prostitution? So these are the questions that determine your admissibility. Do you qualify to enter the United States as a United States citizen? Do you qualify for citizenship? That's what those questions are regarding. So you have to be careful and know exactly what's being asked of you. They'll also ask you questions about your allegiance to the United States. They'll ask whether you're ready and understand what the full oath of allegiance is, and are you ready to take that allegiance? And the last question, like, if the law requires it, are you willing to bear arms on behalf of the United States? And these questions are just to determine whether you truly are in allegiance with the United States and our oath and our values and our Constitution, to see whether you qualify to enter the United States, to become a United States citizen. So if you get approved, you're going to get a notice that says, congratulations, you've been recommended for approval. And then they might tell you the date for your oath ceremony that day, because the oath ceremony is at a different time than the immigration interview. So you'll get to the interview, and then you'll go to an oath ceremony at a different time possible. Sometimes they're the same day, not often. So if you'll either get a notice that day, or they'll mail you a notice in the mail for your oath ceremony, for an appointment for your oath ceremony. They could also deny the application, or they can say, no, we're not ready to make a decision yet. Or they can say, well, we need more information. Today you told us that you had a DWI in the past 5 years, and that you had a DWI 3 years ago, but we don't have the police report or the court records on that, so they might ask you for that. Now, it's really important that you have an attorney present at your interview, because I've seen it time and time again where these officers will fish for information that is not necessary, but they're looking for it to deny your application. If your case, for example, if you had a criminal case, but it was flat out dismissed, no probation, no deferred adjudication or nothing like that, it was dismissed. The judge said, there's nothing here, there's no case, nothing has gone wrong. This person has done nothing wrong, dismiss the case. They'll try to ask questions about that, and they'll ask for police reports and stuff like that, and it's not necessary. Because you were not guilty of any crime, the case was dismissed, you didn't do anything. But what the immigration officer has the power to do is that if they think that you have committed any crime, or if you admit to committing a crime, then they can deny your application. So what I'm there to do is to stop that before it happens. To say, hey, you're not allowed to ask those questions. My client did not commit a crime. His case was dismissed. Don't ask those questions. Or to tell my client, don't answer. You don't have to answer. It's important that somebody's there to stop the interview whenever it gets inappropriate or when the officers are stepping out of line. We have to hold them accountable to the laws and make sure that they are respecting our rights and respecting the process so that you can apply for citizenship. It's important that you're prepared for the interview by an attorney and that you know exactly what's going to happen at your interview and that you can be prepared for that. If you need help applying for citizenship, call us. Our phone number is 832-390-4664. You can find us on our social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube at Luis Ruiz Law. And you can also find us on the web at www.luisruizlaw.com. We're here to help and we're here to fight for you. Give us a call.